Right after Christian Combs dropped his most recent surprise track titled Diddy Free, people had so much to say. Not because the song was a hit, not even the fact that he's a nepo baby clinging onto his father's name. The conversation quickly changed to what the song signaled. Behind the flashy beat and recycled bars was a darker message. One that made people pause and say, wait, is he calling his own father out? Guys, let's talk about how Diddy has abused his own kids over the years. You know how they say nobody wants to see you do better than them except your parents? Well, not Diddy. In his eyes, his children must stay smaller than him, even if it means clipping their wings right when they are about to fly. Be it career-wise, education, or literally anything else, he will not let them shine. Let's start with Christian Combs and this underwhelming flop of a rap he recently released along with Kanye, who was also the producer, by the way. People were quick to notice that as much as the song says Diddy Free, but the timing, the tone, and the rollout felt more like obligation than devotion, not loyalty to his father. It's more like Christian is the kid who keeps jumping through hoops for his father's approval, but his father never seems to notice. Many do not think it's a coincidence that Christian waited until the prosecution wrapped their case, until the noise calmed down and everyone realized Diddy wasn't gonna do life. Experts have disclosed that he likely is just gonna get a few years at most, or maybe less, with time already served. So now with the verdict out and Diddy's potential early release, Christian drops Diddy Free. Not because he believes in his father's innocence, he's just trying to earn points in his father's eyes, hoping to finally look at him and say, good job, son. But before you say that this theory is far-fetched, it is not just the music that's got people looking twice. This new wave of whispers about Diddy being toxic isn't coming from the tabloids anymore. It's coming from inside the house, his own family, literally. Because what Cassie and others exposed about Diddy's treatment of women might have only scratched the surface. Word is that if they could lose the fear, what they've experienced and witnessed might even open the door for a brand new trial. But before we get into the receipts, let's talk about this pattern. And you're about to realize this isn't just about bad parenting, it's about manipulation, sabotage, and sons who have quietly suffered under the weight of Diddy's shadow. Remember when Justin had a promising football career that guaranteed a full ride at UCLA? That was supposed to be his big break. But then came the infamous gym incident. For those of you who might not remember what happened, Justin Combs used to play defensive back for UCLA's football team. But one day he found himself in the eye of an embarrassing situation when Diddy entered the Bruins locker room and allegedly grabbed a kettlebell and tried to crack the coach's head open. Apparently the coach was being mean to Justin, and rightfully, as a responsible parent, Diddy had every right to intervene. Unfortunately, as someone who has allegedly gotten away with a lot of crimes, his approach was not so diplomatic, and an intern later disclosed that the kettlebell was super close to hitting the coach on his head, and that would have been a whole different story. He later got arrested on 3 counts of assault with a deadly weapon, 1 count of making terrorist threats, and 1 count of battery. But after the outcome of his latest trial, Diddy would have still gotten away with it even if the coach had ended up unalived. Anyways, that marked the end of Justin's football career, but at least he graduated from UCLA in 2016. But it didn't stop there. Diddy reportedly convinced Justin to drop his Harvard and come work for Bad Boy. Next thing we know, Justin was in a car crash, and then he's arrested for a DUI charge. Then he's getting dragged into court over a $190,000 battle over an unpaid Porsche bill. It was literally downhill for Justin, all because his father convinced him to ditch Harvard and join the family business. At some point, Justin's mom, Misa Heilton, lost it and went on a rant, calling Diddy out for grooming her son for a life of crime. She even took to her IG and wrote, "Everyone has to sit around for years and act like there isn't anything wrong with you. This is where the buck stops with me." She also faulted Diddy for how the kids turned out because, as a crookhead of the family, everyone else would definitely be affected. Misa wrote, "The statement, 'a fish rots from the head down,' means that. In addition to being a major contributing factor in a family or an organization's success, leadership is also the root cause of its failure and demise. The truth shall set you free." In yet another rant, she said she was done protecting anyone other than her son and even wished she had never left him with Diddy. Well, yeah. If she had been protecting Diddy all this while, then we have a clue of the kind of dirt she has on Diddy. And yet, even after all these, Justin behaved exactly like his other siblings and supported supported his father during the just concluded trials. At some point, he even caused a bit of a commotion in court when he stepped in wearing a shirt written "Diddy Free." The judge had to pause and ask that he be escorted outside to change. But if you thought that that was all, you could never be more wrong. Probably the most damning crime Diddy has ever committed against Justin is what you're about to hear. After sabotaging his career, Diddy allegedly had Justin involved in a whole SA assault, which was just so horrific. Everyone wished it wasn't true. However, going by the claims in the lawsuit, this was without a doubt all the proof that Diddy was indeed a toxic father, because no sane parent would rope his own son into such a scandal. For those who might not remember, the victim alleged that Justin used his father's celebrity status to lure her from Louisiana to LA, where she was literally held prisoner for a weekend and repeatedly SA'd against her will by Diddy, Justin, and 2 other masked men. But hold on, you guys, because that's just 2 of his 7 kids. Let's now shift focus to Quincy, the most camera-ready out of all of them. Had everything lined up. Quincy was talented and marketable, and did you even know that Empire was ready to cast him as Jamal Lyon, the role that made Jussie Smollett famous? But Diddy was so green with envy, he came in with way too many demands, like allegedly trying to take over the music rights, and just like that, the deal collapsed. Empire went on to become one of the most successful TV series at the time, and Quincy missed the golden opportunity. And Diddy was somewhere in the shadows, happy. And just when Quincy tried to bounce back after landing another Lee Daniels show, Star, guess who popped back up again? Yeah, Diddy. For the longest time, there's been a rumor that sounded too crazy, that Diddy wanted to sue Lee Daniels for stealing his life story. Back then, it felt like delusion, but now that we know what he's really capable of, that rumor hits completely different.
Quincy is Albie Schur and Kim Porter's biological child, who Diddy took under his wing.
And once Diddy was done sabotaging Quincy, he turned his attention to Christian's music one more time. Artists like Hitmaka have confirmed that he was indeed jealous over his own son's career. According to Hitmaka, Diddy didn't just fail to support Christian's career, he was allegedly working behind the scenes to block it. Hitmaka went on the Joe Budden podcast and confirmed everything. He talked about working with Christian, how they had a creative session, and how they were feeling really proud of what they made. They got to the Ritz-Carlton and Diddy reluctantly opened, and while Hitmaka was so excited telling him about their successful session with Christian, Diddy looked, snapped, and dismissed Hitmaka with just one question: where is my music?
Yo, hold on. My favorite Diddy story, I will say this. I was talking about this. We had left Mean Streets, me and Christian, and went back, and that's when we went back to the Ritz-Carlton.
Shout out to Christian Combs.
Diddy opened the door, and I'm like, man, we just went crazy, bro. I gave your son a crazy. He like, nigga, f that nigga. Where my head at?
Clearly, he doesn't respect his son's career, and he's super competitive. Also, his ego could not accept the fact that it was time for him to step aside and let his own son fly. Cause that was a father standing in front of his son saying, you don't matter unless you're feeding me. Word is that Diddy would go as far as calling labels, calling execs, calling anyone who showed interest in Christian with clear instruction that they must not help him, but instead dim the light before it could shine. Because in Diddy's world, no one outshines him, not even his own blood. By now, it's super clear the kind of pattern of sabotage going on. But it doesn't end with the music. Some people went as far as saying that Diddy has unsuspectedly conditioned his kids to fear him. And while he has been able to pull the rug from beneath their feet, he was only able to get away with it because the industry let him. And that's the deeper violence here. Diddy didn't just limit his kids professionally, he messed them up mentally to the point that they got used to the confusion by publicly praising him, but privately blocking every door they try to walk through. He would post so many videos gassing up Christian while killing his dream at the same time. He tells them, you're kings, and then acts like a kingmaker who keeps the crown for himself.
We can do this, shout all the father. It's a baby boy, no baby. That's my baby boy.
And for years, people let it slide and assumed he was just making decisions as a tough businessman, only to turn out that he wanted the spotlight and he didn't care who he had to dim to keep his shine. Christian, Justin, Quincy had what it took for stardom. They had the looks, the name, the talent, and their father had the key, but he refused to build an empire for his sons. But instead, he did exactly what he did to Cassie. He gave just enough to keep them near and then snatched it back when it got too close to rising. Cassie Ventura signed a 10-album deal with Bad Boy Records in early 2006, but over the course of her time there, she only released one self-titled album and a handful of singles, and yet she recorded hundreds of songs that were never released. Unlike Cassie, there were no freak-offs with his boys, but the formula remains the same. So when people say Diddy's a good dad, you have to ask, which part? The part where he tells his sons that he's proud, or the part where he shows up in meetings just to block deals? At this point, the question isn't whether Diddy is a good dad, the question is how much damage has already been done. So many people have literally associated Diddy's traits to a narcissist because he's manipulative, controlling, and incapable of letting anyone grow beyond him. This could explain why so many people were invested in his case and disappointed with the outcome. When they said he shouldn't be on the streets, it's not just about what he did to Cassie and all those other victims who came forward. It's about what he did to everyone in his circle, including the people who carry his blood. Now here's the brutal irony. For the same children people claim he loves, his downfall might be the only chance at freedom his children will ever have. Because stepping out from under someone like that is never easy while they are still in the picture. Everyone is eagerly awaiting his sentencing, and this might be the moment Christian and the others finally get to breathe and make their own paths without the invisible hand of their father always pulling the strings behind their back. This person said, Diddy's children are victims and they don't even know it. Just heartbreaking. Another one wrote, Christian Combs always looks so sad. Justin looks sneaky. Quincy just looks confused and worried. Poor kids, they never stood a chance. Probably the best comment to summarize what Diddy did to his kids is when this person said he has taught his sons to be the same kind of men and his daughters to accept anything as long as it's a means to an end. And that's why many believe that Christian knew exactly what he was doing when he released a track, Diddy Free. Not when he had been released, but while you're still buried under federal case. Knowing what we know now, maybe Christian doesn't want Diddy to walk free. He probably just wants to walk away from his father and finally grow. Because when it comes to surviving Diddy, silence has always said more than a press release.